What if I told you that in 1843, a group of pranksters decided to test a prophet, and the result became one of the most controversial events in Mormon history? They forged a set of ancient-looking plates, buried them, and then discovered them, presenting them to none other than Joseph Smith himself. He attempted to translate them, declaring they contained the history of an ancient descendant of Ham. The problem, decades later, the pranksters confessed it was all a joke. This is the story of the Kinderhook Plates, a tale so tangled with faith, fraud, and science that it continues to challenge believers and critics alike. If you enjoy uncovering hidden historical truths, hit that subscribe button right now, because you're not going to want to miss what we've dug up. Welcome back to the Mormon Deep Dive channel. Today, we re-journeying back to a small town in Illinois to uncover a story that strikes at the very heart of Joseph Smith's claims as a translator and prophet. It's a story filled with intrigue, deception, and a surprising scientific twist you probably haven't heard before. So grab a drink, settle in, and let's get into the fascinating saga of the Kinderhook Plates. Our story begins in April 1843 in Kinderhook, Illinois, a town not far from the bustling Mormon hub of Nauvoo. A man named Robert Wiley, along with a few of his friends, claimed to have discovered a set of 6 small, bell-shaped brass plates while excavating a large mound. These plates were covered in strange characters, resembling hieroglyphics. News of the discovery spread like wildfire. In a time captivated by American antiquities and the mystery of the continent's first inhabitants, this was a sensational find. Naturally, the plates were brought to Nauvoo to be examined by the one person believed to have experience with such artifacts. Joseph Smith, after all, he had translated the golden plates that became the Book of Mormon using divine instruments. The arrival of the Kinderhook plates in Nauvoo caused quite a stir. The Times and Seasons, a prominent LDS newspaper, reported on the discovery. And Joseph Smith's personal journal, kept by his scribe, William Clayton, records his reaction. According to Clayton's journal entry from May 1, 1843, Joseph Smith examined the plates and declared that they contained the history of the person with whom they were found. He said the man was a descendant of Ham through the loins of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and had received his kingdom from the ruler of heaven and earth. Smith even made a facsimile of some of the characters and stated he would translate the full record. This seemed to many followers like another powerful confirmation of his prophetic abilities. Here was tangible, physical proof that could be examined by anyone, and Joseph was ready to unlock its secrets just as he had with the Book of Mormon. The event was recorded in the official history of the church, cementing it as a key moment in LDS history. For many members, this was a faith-promoting event. It seemed to be another testament to Joseph's divine calling. But here's where the story takes its first major twist. For years, the official narrative was that Joseph Smith had successfully begun a translation. However, whispers and rumors from outside the church told a different story. In 1879, one of the original conspirators, Wilbur Fugate, wrote a letter confessing that the entire discovery was a hoax. He explained that he, Robert Wiley, and another man named Bridge Whitton had concocted the whole scheme specifically to test Joseph Smith. They weren't discoverers, they were forgers. Fugate detailed how they had cut the bell-shaped plates from a piece of copper, hammered them into shape, and etched the characters onto them using beeswax and acid. The bizarre symbols, they were copied from a Chinese tea chest. They then aged the plates by burying them in the mound, only to discover them later in front of witnesses. Their goal was simple. If Joseph Smith was a true prophet, he would recognize the plates as a fraud. If he wasn't, he would fall into their trap and try to translate them. And according to his own journal, that's exactly what he did. This confession cast a huge shadow over the event. Was one of the proofs of Joseph Smith's power actually evidence of his fallibility, or worse, his deception? For over a century, the debate raged on. Believers argued that the confession was unreliable, a bitter fabrication from an anti-Mormon. Critics pointed to it as the smoking gun. The physical plates themselves were lost to history for a time, so there was no way to scientifically verify either claim. It was one man's word against another's. Then came the 1980s, and this is where the story gets really interesting. One of the original 6 Kinderhook plates, long thought to be lost forever, was located. It had been in the possession of the Chicago Historical Society. This was the moment of truth. the LDS Church gave permission for the plate to undergo rigorous scientific testing. For the first time, modern science could settle the debate. Was the plate an authentic ancient artifact, or was it a 19th century forgery? Using sophisticated techniques like scanning electron microscopy and X-ray fluorescence, researchers at Northwestern University examined the plate. The results were definitive. The plate was made of a common 19th century brass alloy, not ancient copper or bronze. Even more damning, the analysis revealed microscopic traces of nitrogen, consistent with the use of nitric acid for etching. The method of etching was exactly as the hoaxer, Wilbur Fugate, had described in his confession nearly a century earlier. The verdict was in, the Kinderhook plate was a 19th century fake. The science proved the hoax was real. In 1981, the official LDS Church magazine, The Ensign, published an article acknowledging these findings. The church admitted the plate was a forgery. Case closed, right? The prophet had been tricked by a simple prank. But hold on, because there's another twist. Facing this undeniable scientific evidence, a new explanation began to emerge from some LDS defenders. The argument shifted. Yes, the plates were a hoax, they conceded. But Joseph Smith was never actually tricked. They argue that he only pretended to translate them, or that he was merely speculating about their contents, not performing a divine translation. Proponents of this view point out that the most detailed account of the translation comes from William Clayton's journal, not from Joseph Smith's own hand. They suggest Clayton may have exaggerated or misunderstood Joseph's comments. They argue that Joseph was merely toying with the men who brought him the plates, knowing all along they were fake. This perspective tries to salvage Joseph's prophetic image by recasting him as a clever man who saw through the deception but chose not to expose it directly. So, which is it? Was he a deceived prophet who fell for a trap, or a wise leader who played along with a prank? The evidence is complicated, while the most direct account is from his scribe. The event was still recorded in the official history of the church and presented as a genuine translation attempt for over 100 years. It was only after the scientific proof of forgery became undeniable that this alternative explanation gained traction. And just when you think you have it all figured out, there's one final bizarre turn in this story. Remember how I said the tested plate was made of brass? Well, historical accounts from eyewitnesses in 1843 are mixed. Some describe the plates as brass, but others describe them as being made of rusted steel or iron. And remember the hoaxer's confession. Wilbur Fugate said they cut the plates from a piece of copper, but the tested plate is brass. Brass is a copper zinc alloy. It's possible Fugate simply misspoke, or that his memory was fuzzy decades later. But it does introduce a tiny element of ambiguity. Furthermore, a study by a non-LDS researcher in 2011 suggested that the etching on the plate might not have been done with acid after all, but could have been engraved with a tool. This contradicts the findings from the 1980s tests and aligns less perfectly with the hoaxer's confession. Now, this does unprove the plate is ancient still 19th century metal, but it does show how complex and contested the physical evidence can be, even today. So, we're left with a fascinating puzzle. We have a confessed hoax. We have scientific evidence that largely confirms the hoax. We have a prophet's journal entry claiming a translation of these fake plates. And we have shifting explanations over the decades as new evidence comes to light. This brings us to the core of the issue, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this in the comments. First, how much should historical accounts like William Clayton's journal be trusted when they weren't written by the main subject themselves? Can we dismiss it as a misunderstanding? Second, when faced with evidence that contradicts a foundational belief, is it more honest to reconsider the belief, or to find a new way to interpret the evidence that allows the belief to remain intact? This is a question that goes far beyond Mormon history and touches the very nature of faith and reason. The story of the Kinderhook Plates is a microcosm of the larger challenges in studying early Mormonism. It's a messy blend of documented history, personal testimony, scientific analysis, and evolving narratives. It forces us to ask tough questions about what we choose to believe and why. Whether you see it as a clear case of a prophet being exposed or a misunderstood event used by critics to attack the church, the one thing you can't deny is that it's an absolutely captivating piece of history. What do you think really happened in Nauvoo in 1843 Was Joseph Smith fooled, or was he in on the joke? Let me know your theory down in the comments below. Your insights and discussions are what make this channel a community. Thank you for joining me on another Mormon Deep Dive. If you found this investigation fascinating and want to uncover more hidden stories from church history, make sure you subscribe to the Mormon Deep Dive channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. We have a lot more to explore together. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.